the parked car pin that shouldn't exist at 1:04 a.m. At 1:04 a.m., my phone claimed to remember something my body didn't. Your car was parked nearby, Apple Maps announced, cheerful as a thief. The blue pin blinked from the screen with an innocence that felt practiced. 17 Harbor Place, 2 blocks from the Argyle, a building that used to be a shipping office and now rents its corners to people who prefer brick to honesty. I hadn't driven since dinner. I hadn't left the couch since the documentary turned into an argument about whether rain needs music. Mara had gone to the studio, late, the hyphen she uses when a day refuses to clock out. We share a car. We share a life. We share a keychain the cloud believes is a marriage. I stared at the pin until it stopped being a shape and became a confession. Parked at 1:04. I tapped for details the way a man taps a bruise he's not ready to admit to. Glovebox opened, the app added, helpful as an accomplice. CarPlay disconnected. I didn't call her. Midnight calls are for people who want to hear themselves be noble. I put on sneakers, took the stairs like I had something to prove, and walked toward the river with my collar up against a wind that tried too hard. Harbor Place smells like salted money. I found the car where the pin said it would be, obedient and asleep, the sort of posture machines use to beg forgiveness. A streetlight printed its version of truth across the hood. I tried the handle, unlocked. The glovebox yawned as if I'd interrupted it. Inside, insurance, a map no one uses, and a receipt folded too carefully to be trash. The Argyle, it said at the top, the font expensive enough to be a personality. 2 sparkling waters, 1 lemon tart, 1251, card holder, our card. Signature field, empty, the gesture of someone who intended to erase herself and forgot. A man's voice came from behind me, light as a joke that does not require laughter. You find what you were looking for. He stood under the awning of the Argyle with a coat that knew what shoulders were for. Not handsome in a way that would stand up to daylight, practical handsome, hired handsome. He had the thrift store grace of someone who rehearsed disappearing and considered it a skill. I'm looking for a lie that doesn't insult me, I said. He nodded, accepting the line like a garnish. There's a back entrance, he said, gesturing with a chin toward a black door that pretended to be nobody's. Easy to think it's a secret. It's just cold in there. You are. Call me Theo, he said, which is not a real answer and suited the hour. Call you a cab, I said. He smiled without using teeth. Look, he said, hands visible. I'm not a habit, I'm a test. She passed late, that's all. He went inside without dramatics. The blue pin kept blinking in my palm like an eager dog. I drove the car home listening to the car tell me I had parked, unparked, obeyed. Mara was already there, barefoot in the kitchen, hair pinned low the way she does when she's either focused or pretending. She had the look of someone who had prepared to be brave and wasn't sure if bravery meant talking or not lying yet. You walked, she said softly, seeing the keys in my hand like they were a diagnosis. Maps remembered for me, I said, and placed the receipt on the counter between us like a towel on a shoulder in a boxing movie. She looked at it, then at me, and did her most violent thing. She kept eye contact. Kitchen or small room, she asked. The kitchen wants to be helpful, I said. Let it. She set both palms on the counter, grounding herself to an object that has never asked us to be our best. I kissed someone, she said. Once. Badly. Tell me the part I can survive, I said. All of it. His name is Theo, she said. He funds the key job. He's good at standing still while a room arranges itself around him, and he's worse at leaving when it should. The Argyle lobby has a light installation I wanted for a sequence. We watched it act more important than physics for 20 minutes, and then he said the kind of sentence that makes women my age dangerous. You're different when you forget to manage. I wanted to punch him and then kiss him for noticing. I picked the less violent option. It tasted like citrus and debt. We ordered water because I don't trust myself with the stupid glamour of alcohol anymore. I left him with dessert and took the long way out. My mouth had a truth and a performance queued up. I picked truth because the performance would have kept me up. Do you want him? I asked. No, she said. I want the way my body feels when it's not the project manager for my own thoughts. He impersonates that feeling. You are it in my house. She smiled without showing teeth, which is infuriating and hot depending on the minute. We stood 2 feet apart like a choreographed danger. We had both learned to dance around. The lemon tart on the receipt waited like a dare. Somewhere upstairs, the neighbor's dishwasher decided to confess. I pulled a knife from the block and said, "Storm or quiet?" She exhaled and set her forehead to my shoulder for a second that made the room fall in line. "Quiet," she said. "Then whatever the storm asks for that isn't stupid." We ate toasted bread with honey because dessert sounded like arrogance. We built rules on the back of a takeout menu because meaningful paper makes me nervous. She wrote, "If the car parks at 104, the mouth speaks at 110. I wrote, "If you want to kiss someone to learn you don't want them, tell me before you teach your body the lesson." She added, "If a building has a back entrance, we say the front of it here first." It was stupid, it worked. We kissed after, not like an alibi but like a vote. Her mouth found the place under my jaw that grows dial tones when I forget to answer the day. She slid her hands under my shirt and pressed her palms flat to verify what the room already knew. I lifted her onto the counter and our thighs learned polite violence. We were careful, then greedy, then careful again. We stopped while yes still meant yes and not proof. We didn't make the mistake of apologizing to the room to feel noble. The next morning my phone offered me a review prompt as if the night had been a restaurant. "How was your parking experience?" Measured. "Sufficient." I dismissed it with a thumb that knew better than to try being clever. At work, the director wanted the sound of a window opening at midnight to feel like permission. I layered a breeze with a hinge and a small exhale that might have been a person. My assistant asked if it was my breath. "Something that belongs to me," I said, and left it there. Theo wrote once because men like that believe closure is a coupon code. He said, "I'm sorry for making the city worse." Mara wrote back, "Stop using lobbies like spotlights," and BCC'd me in our rule sheet, and by accident the lighting designer, who replied with a single dot like a person trying not to gloat. For a while, boredom saved us. We did laundry like a prayer. We found a restaurant that oversalts everything and tipped too much because people who do small kindnesses deserve to be overpaid. When the bad hours arrived, we used our older code, storm or quiet, and obeyed our own rules like adults. Then a week later, my phone chirped with mischief again. "Car left windows open," it told me at 12:43. The weather app shook its head at me like a mother. I went downstairs in my sleep shirt and found the car obediently closed. Inside the glove box, a stack of paper I didn't recognize, projection schematics, a page with Mara's notes in the edges, no more hiding places in public. I texted her a photo. "Wind says you wrote this." She replied with a picture of her hand next to a coffee cup, the streak of ink on her finger proof of authorship. "Yes, home in 20. I sat behind the wheel and listened to the car make the clicks cars make when they think they are being trusted. We watched the Argyle lobby piece together from the street once on purpose. She wanted me to see what the seduction had been. The light made promises to anyone polite enough not to ask for specifics. Theo stood near a pillar performing contrition with good hair. He saw us and performed distance. He raised his glass with the small dignity of a man who had been taught this trick after learning it from pain. We nodded back because courtesy costs 1 unit of energy. At home, under the ugly lamp, we made a new rule. If a room tries to hire us as characters, we refuse the contract. We taped it to the fridge next to the one that says truth before codes because themes are helpful. The next test came from the car again because machines enjoy sequels. Apple popped up a banner at 11:57 p.m. Cabin climate adjusted 72 degrees. I hadn't touched the climate, neither had she. I walked to the window and looked down to see the cabin glowing like a small false moon. I texted, "Car thinks it's a hotel." She did not write back. My heart did what hearts do and invented a storm. I went downstairs with sand in my mouth and opened the door. She was asleep in the passenger seat, arms crossed, head tilted toward the windshield like she'd been arguing with her reflection and the reflection won. On the console, a lemon tart, the Argyle kind, sat in its box, derisively beautiful. The noise I made woke her. She blinked against the dome light and swore. "I tried to bring home a joke," she said, ruining it by being honest. "Fell asleep instead. Pick a better husband." I carried her upstairs like a vow I'd forgotten and was lucky to be allowed to keep. We ate the tart on the rug with forks so cheap they bent like men who misunderstand strength. We told the truth until the room got bored of it and turned back into a place we liked touching each other. We were not fixed, people aren't. We got better at refusal. We got clever about boredom. We got worse at pretending we were noble when we were just tired. The car learned new tricks to irritate us. An alert about low washer fluid at the exact moment Mara was washing her hands of an email from Theo's deputy. You can't prove intention. The city still tried to cast us as extras in its confession tapes. We left when we remembered. We stayed when we wanted to. The kitchen remained on our side. One afternoon, months later, a push arrived that made me laugh out loud at my desk. "Your car is parked nearby." The pin blinked over our block. The time read 1:04 p.m. Mara sent the same screenshot from wherever she was, along with a photo of her palm on our hood. "Different hour," she wrote. "Different us." That night she said, "Storm," into my mouth the way you say a blessing you don't believe in until it works anyway. I put my hand where the weather lives, and she climbed onto me with the competence of someone who has practiced for years. We moved like we'd been allowed to return a stolen thing without being punished. We stopped when stopping was proof of love, not fear. We keep the Argyle receipt in a drawer with warranties because paper sometimes keeps us honest. We also keep a penciled map, Harbor Place, the blue pin, our block. On it in my handwriting, "Doors wait, people choose." On nights when the river pretends it knows us better than we do, we open the window and laugh at it gently. We are kind to the car when it tells on us. We tell on ourselves first. And when the phone says "parked nearby," we make sure it's true. Our bodies inside this house, at this counter, under this ugly lamp, choosing the kind of storm that keeps and the kind of quiet that doesn't need a witness.